Users, this is Spalding Space, and today I'm going to be doing a Star Wars Legends book review of Darth Bane, Path of Destruction. Now, this is the 6th or 7th event in the Legends timeline. I'm not 100% sure. But by the time you're watching this, this is 2020. Obviously, all of this stuff in Legends has been decanonized by Disney, which was a great move. Not. And some people just say, why should we read Legends? It's not actually canon. Well, I mean, none of it really happened anyway, so why not? This is in my head canon. It's in my mental canon. So I'm a huge fan of the KOTOR games and the Star Wars: The Old Republic video game, as well as Mass Effect. I know it's not Star Wars, but it was written by Drew Caperson, and he wrote this book, as well as doing KOTOR and Mass Effect. And he also did the Revan book and the Theron book called Alliance, as well as all of the Bane books, which I loved all of his writing. Now, I decided to make this review because when I decided to get into Legends, which is right about now in coronavirus quarantine, I had nothing else to do, so why not read up on some excellent Star Wars literature. I tried to watch some reviews to see where I should start, what should I read, and I couldn't find any good reviews over barely any Star Wars novels, and when I did see some, they were just summaries, and I was like, why am I watching this? Because sometimes after I finish things, I like to watch a review over it just to see what other people thought, which I'm going to be doing, but it just seemed like they were just doing a summary, and I was like, I read the book. Why would I watch a summary? So if you haven't read it, I'm going to sort of provide just some thoughts and some ideas as to whether to buy it or not, and then after that, I'm going to talk about some of the spoilery things that if you do finish reading the book, watch it. If you have already watched it, then you can, or read it, you can skip to that section. But I guess I'm going to start off with what I really liked. I really liked Drew Caperson's writing style. I think he's a great writer. In Revan and all the other books in Annihilation, there's a very distinct sort of writing style that he follows, and I really enjoyed it. I'm just starting to read Plagueis. I started it yesterday, and I forget the writer, but there's a definite difference in their writing styles, and I prefer Caperson's a lot more. I'm not going to say that it's not like advanced, but it's not like Charles Dickens. Like it's easy to follow. There are moments where I was like, but it's super, super simple. It's an easy read. This took me like 3 days, but I did most of it in 2. It was a pretty quick read, and it was really good. I ended up finishing the entire Bane trilogy in a week exactly. Some other things I like, all the characters, they were fantastic, whether they were like a really minute character, and a lot of the people in the Bane book, the first one, come up throughout the trilogy, and of course, Caperson, I don't know if you know this, Caperson did not intend to write this as a trilogy. He just wrote this as a standalone Star Wars novel, and Lucasfilm, or whoever licensed it, was like, hey, Drew, you should write another book in 6 months. And he actually wrote The Rule of Two, which is the second book in 6 months, which is fantastic considering that book is just as good, if not better, than this one. So it's fantastic. I really loved all the characters. Bane obviously is fantastic. Seeing him transform from Dez to Bane, I was reading, I was like, how is this minor gonna become the Dark Lord of the Sith? And it was done really, really well. But I have some gripes with that, which I'll talk about later. Githany is a great character. I really enjoyed her character. I think that Hoth, General Hoth, is also a really interesting character. I think that it's interesting to see a Jedi sort of operate that way. He's not what you consider a normal Jedi, and it was interesting to see the book from the Jedi's perspective near part 3, which again I sort of had some gripes with. Yeah, I really enjoyed that. So I'm gonna sort of go into spoilers, but if you have not read the book, I highly recommend that you do. If you like KOTOR, if you like Mass Effect, if you like Star Wars: The Old Republic, this is like best of the best from what I've read of Star Wars novels. It's fantastic. I know that, some people don't like to read, they like to play video games. I could imagine this 100% like a Disney Plus show, which they should totally do. I would play Bane. I know I'm not, buff or bald, but I could play Bane. So if you haven't seen it, I highly recommend that you read this. Now I'm going to sort of go into the spoilers. If you have read the book, I would like to provide some insight. I guess this is going to go into some things I didn't like. I didn't like the beginning. I mean, I felt like, not the beginning of the book. I love the beginning of the book. I love to see Dez turn into Bane. I think that the entire beginning was done really, really well. I thought that part 2 was done really, really, really well. I thought everything, like, it wasn't, he's not a Mary Sue character. I guess that would sort of fall into that. Like, he struggles. Bane definitely struggles. He loses over and over again. He's not just, like, all the way to the top, which I really liked, because it makes you want to see him succeed. Which you sort of meet Githany in that, and I really liked Githany's character. Not because I liked her. I hated her. I was worried that she was going to be Bane's apprentice, and I was like, oh no, but I was really glad that she died, and her death was really cool. Which gets me into part 3, how she died. It's cool. Like, it's the way that he kills all the Sith to institute the rule of 2 is cool. But the name for it is Thought Bomb, which, I don't know, that just sounds really stupid. Like, it's Star Wars, I feel like you could, like, Millennium Falcon, Darth Vader, Star Destroyer, Thought Bomb. Like, I just felt like he could have picked a better name. There was, like, why? There was no thought, there was a bomb, but Massive Destroyer Bomb sounds cooler than Thought Bomb. That was my one gripe with that, but Githany's death was super cool, and Bane's cunning, I felt, was really, really, really well done. The way he manipulated people, I think everything with when I sort of heard of the rule of 2, I was like, why? That's so stupid. Like, in the Old Republic, there were like thousands of Sith, and why would they not want hundreds of thousands of Sith to defeat the Jedi? Like, why would you just have 2? That seems so limiting. And I watched some reviews of the books, and they totally didn't get it either. But I think after you read the book, you should get it, and I was upset that they didn't, is sort of with the Brotherhood of Darkness, they're very tame. They're very just like, well, no one's a Darth because we're all lords and we're all happy and we don't want to overthrow each other. And Bane explains that, but the rule of 2 actually makes a lot of sense. And he does a good job weaving it into how you would see the original trilogy, like with Vader and the Emperor. Like, oh, there's 2 of them. Okay, that makes sense. So I think that everything with that was done really well. Things that I didn't like were the pacing in the beginning of part 3. I felt like that was slow. I really liked the Battle of Ruusan, but I felt like that was slow. I didn't like how Bane became super powerful super quickly. I get that he's really powerful, and then he goes to Rakata Prime. They have a name for the planet, but that's what it was called in KOTOR. And he finds Revan's holocron, and then he tames a Rancor, which never learned how to do that, just kind of decided to do that. Maybe, I know I didn't miss that because I would have remembered, but I don't know, maybe it was implied. I just felt like that was weird. But he tames the Rancor, and then he sees Revan's holocron, which was cool. And then Kasim, who's his old instructor, goes to fight him, and he's not as good as Kasim, but he's like really good, and he was never that good in part 2. So he really spiked like in his power very quickly, and then once he killed Kasim, he was way more powerful than everybody else, like just by miles. I felt like it was just really quick, and I would have preferred if that had been slowed. And there was, it's only 360 pages. Like, he could have added more. But that was probably my biggest gripe, is I was just like, did I miss something? I mean, at least they could have said, like, a year later. Or, the Battle of Ruusan was, like, 2 years, what they said. Like, they could have drawn it out more. That was one thing that I felt like, why? I also felt like the epilogue was kind of weird. I guess I'll get more into it if I talk about the second Bane book. I feel like Rain's character, Xana, is weird. In the first stage, I really like Xana, like, after she's not 10. I just feel like she's really mature and sadistic for a 10-year-old, but maybe that's sort of what he was going for. And then I said that in part 3 it was kind of slow because everything with Hoth and Farfalla I felt like was slow, but other than that, it was really good. So I guess to wrap it up, I'd give this book a 9.5 out of 10. I'm hesitant to give it a 10 due to what I was talking about earlier. Just some things that are really slow. And don't really make too much sense. But this trilogy by far is the best Star Wars material out there. I haven't read the Thrawn series yet, which is I'm going to read after Plagueis, and then I can sort of debate that. But I love the Old Republic time period, and all of this can be like canonized. I don't know why it isn't. It doesn't interfere with the current canon. So please, Kathleen Kennedy, canon this or make a show about it. But yeah. I would definitely recommend you read this if you get a chance. It's it's quarantine right now. There's nothing else to do. Go to Barnes & Noble, get it via curbside pickup, and let me know what you think about it. I'll see you next time. Goodbye.